Hey, so recently there was a story where Kwame Brown was going off on Russell Westbrook. And if you don't look at the story, I will put a link in the description below. And if you look after the story, you will see Russell Westbrook wearing what appears to be a dress. Now, Russell Westbrook has always been known to be extreme with his fashions, and he is a straight man, but he is known to try to push the edges with fashions. And really, I know a lot of people don't like Russell Westbrook, but I really don't have a personal problem with him so much. He does appear to be a jerk, but then again, so did Michael Jordan, so did Kobe Bryant, so did many other great players. They appear to be jerks. So that is not in itself a reason for me not to be a fan of them. If I wasn't a fan of jerks, Aaron Rodgers, I can name so many different players that appear to not be nice guys. We like them for their talent on the court or on the field. So I'm looking at Russell Westbrook and I'm watching him wear this dress, and he tried to defend it. And here's the thing. We need to mock people who do ridiculous stuff. And I'm not saying that we need to discredit his whole life, because he has some masculine things that are about him. But the truth of the matter is that there is harm in wearing a dress. And where's the harm? Well, the Bible talks about men not wearing feminine clothes and women not wearing masculine clothes. And there has become this idea that fashion is something that we shouldn't judge. People's choices are things we shouldn't judge. And that's not a biblical idea. And here's the thing. Whatever you do, somebody else is judging. Now, people are dishonest about judging, right? So you go outside and you wear a shirt that's too small, and people will think about that. And that's a judgment, right? You go to work or you hear somebody talking on the phone and they just yelling at the other person. You have formed a judgment in your head. You saying, man, that's too harsh. You form a judgment. When you hear this video, you form a judgment. Everybody forms judgments all the time. And this idea that when you don't like a judgment, all of a sudden you can pretend that all judgments are wrong is disingenuous, right? So we do judgments all the time. There's nothing wrong with judgments. Now, every time that somebody hears a judgment, and let's just be clear on it, every time that we hear a judgment that is pro-scripture, people get out of control, right? So you'll have somebody, a preacher, and there's been viral videos. My brother was talking to me about a viral video that happened almost like 2 years ago, where a pastor in Philadelphia was talking about the fact that some women dress like whores. And he was absolutely right. And he talked about men too. But here's the thing. People get so mad when somebody says something that might push the limits on the right side of the thing. But they will never get out of hand when we talk about Joel Osteen not talking about judgment. They'll never get out of hand about somebody who doesn't think the Bible should be interpreted rationally. They will never get out of hand when somebody will get up and teach a sermon about how the Bible is not to be taken literally. They will get out of hand when somebody, they won't not get out of hand when you hear somebody like Creflo Dollar or many of these other false teachers get up there and preach nonsense on a repeated basis, right? So it is, when you see how people react to things, what you need to understand is this: the response is spiritual. Now back to Russell Westbrook and him wearing a dress. The reason it's harmful is because it is a harmful image to the male image. Men are not supposed to be dressed like women. That's just the way it is. Women are not supposed to be dressed like men. There is an image that a man is supposed to uphold. Now, what is that image exactly? Well, it's going to depend on the culture that you're in, right? If you look at Japanese culture way back hundreds of years ago, everybody wore robes. But if you look at the kind of robes the men wore and the robes that women wore, they were different, right? But the masculine dress that a Japanese man would have wore in the 1700s will be completely different than the masculine dress that I should expect from somebody in 2021. And so, yes, there does need to be some cultural discernment used. But when we take something that is traditionally feminine and put it on a man, it will never look right, and it should be clowned. And here's the thing. When you watch this channel, you're going to see us clown people every once in a while. And you know what? That's godly. You might say, how is it godly to clown somebody, bro? But here's the thing. If you look at Elijah responding to the priest of Baal, he clowned them. He made them look silly. He was talking about Baal defecating. He was talking about, oh, he must be asleep. He clowned them when they were stabbing themselves, trying to get Baal to answer. And here's the thing. We need to clown people who say ridiculous stuff, because oftentimes as Christians, what we do is we try to get so rational with things, right? And there's nothing wrong with being rational, but the problem is some responses are so ridiculous that when you respond to them rationally, you actually give them more legitimacy than they deserve. And what they need is more mockery. Sometimes the mockery displays the truth better than this 10-point rational argument ever would. So, hey, kudos to Kwame Brown for roasting him for that, because he should be roasted wearing a dress. You know, a lot of the stuff he does, I don't really hate him for his hardcore attitude on the court, and you know, his ability to put all his effort in every game. I commend him for that. But this wearing a dress, man, he need to be clowned for that, and everybody else who's a man who try to wear a dress need to be clowned too.